Hey y'all, it's Chris with Rockin Farm. We're out walking the farm today, and it kind of got me to thinking a little bit about how to get started on your homestead. See, people take a look at our farm and on what we've got going on here. We've got, all these pigs, and we've got orchards, and we've got gardens, and we've got chickens, and we've done a lot of brush work, etc., etc., etc. And they're just like, oh my gosh, Chris, I want all the things and just as fast as you did. And I can't help but just say, whoa there, Nelly. So let's talk about the realities of my homestead and how we got to where we are. Before we do that, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell, and go check out the website, rockin8farm.com. So I guess if we're going to talk about how we got here, we do kind of need to talk a little bit about where we are. Watch out, guys. Most of you have seen some of my recent farm updates. So where are we at right now? I have, let me see, 1, 2, 3 on the farm. I have 3 breeding sows. I have 1 breeding boar. I have 2 great big feeder pigs that are getting ready to leave the farm real soon. I have 2 piglets that we decided we're going to keep and add them to our breeding herd. 2 feeders that I'm going to keep and add them to our personal feeders. I've got 1 feeder that we're going to keep, and he is either going to become a companion pig for times when we have to put pigs in an area by themselves, or he's going to become a roaster pig. Now, I'm hoping that doesn't happen to our little guy, because to be honest with you, we kind of already named him. But we have to be realistic. If I can't castrate him, I also can't take the chances that his genetics are going to accidentally end up in my herd. We also have a fairly large scale garden. It's pretty much empty right now. We have like onion, cilantro, and garlic growing in it, which is a great start to a salsa, but we're not quite there yet. We usually end up planting right around April Fool's Day. We'll get our seeds started right around Valentine's Day. So for now, the garden is kind of resting. Now, while it's not the exact same thing as a garden, I do kind of lump it into the same area as a garden. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But we've also got our orchard and our vineyard. I've got multiple different kinds of persimmons, peaches, pears, plums, apricots, apples. Now, besides like dogs and cats, we've got the pigs. Those are livestock, and then I consider chickens livestock as well. So the guineas, they're pest control, but they're a fowl, right? Just like a chicken is. So besides the pigs, chickens is really the only livestock we have on the property. We have 2 different sets of chickens. We have our fancy purebred chickens that we have in breeding flocks for the purpose of selling, hatching eggs, day-old chicks, young pullets, etc. And then we've got our regular everyday egg flock. So now I know you are saying, see, Chris, that's exactly what we meant. You've got a lot going on and you got there pretty fast. So I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all. Did we just do one thing at a time like I'm going to recommend? Kind of, sort of, not really. Because that first year, after that first year, 10 months or so, we did get the chickens, and then we did end up gardening that first summer. But I mean, let's be honest, y'all, not a ton of effort really goes into raising little tiny baby chicks. You figure out a lot more about chickens when they become chickens. When they're chicks, they're just kind of cute and they don't do nothing but eat poop. And so for that first year, we really just watched the land. We paid close attention to things like solar aspects. We moved here right at the beginning of summer, so we got to see the sun at its highest point. And then we went through a winter and we got to see the sun at its lowest point. We went through some bad storms and we got to see where water flowed and where water didn't flow. The place where I wanted to put my chicken coop when we first moved here, it did not take long for me to decide that putting the chicken coop in that place would be a really bad idea, because it darn near got flooded out in one of our storms. So that's really, really important, y'all. When you first move onto a homestead, don't do anything. Just watch the land. See what it has to offer you. Find the holes in the fences and get them fixed. Find the rotten fence posts and get them replaced. Take a look at your infrastructure and see, is it okay to put a goat in this barn, or is this barn going to collapse on that goat? Just take your time and figure out the land and figure out what you've got and start thinking about how you want to use it. And then after that, start adding things one at a time. So March of 2019, we started out with a few chicks and got them up to chicken size. And then that summer, or April, May, whatever, we started our first garden here on this property. The thing is, we had already been gardening at our old house. We had no livestock experience, but we knew how to build a raised bed. We knew how to fill it. We knew how to raise some plants up. We were never really successful gardeners at our old house, but we had figured out how to garden, so it wasn't a new skill. We weren't taking on something we had never done before. The chickens, we had never done those before. That was the new thing for that year. So we learned gardening before we moved here, spent a year watching the property, and then we moved into chickens. And as everybody knows, chickens are the gateway drug. Now see, once we had learned chickens, we were able to move into other kinds of poultry because they're very similar. There's a lot of things going on there that aren't a whole lot different. So we were able to pick up some guineas and get them raised up because we had already figured out how to raise up chicks. And then we introduced them to the dogs so the dogs wouldn't chase them off. And we introduced them to the land. And we love having our guinea fowl here. When we decided this past year to move into fancy chicken breeds, again, we already knew and had learned a lot of lessons with our egg-laying flock. So year one, we did nothing. Year two, we started into chickens and got back into gardening because we already knew that. Year three was the year of the pig. So as I said, we've been in this house for 3.5 years. We have 1 year with pigs because it was at that 2.5 year mark is where we started with our venture into pigs. And yes, now we're at a place where we have breeding herds and pigs and piglets, and we're selling pigs and piglets and selling feeders and roasters and all, but we figured out the pigs first. So next year, maybe next year's the year of the cow, who knows? But my point is, as much stuff as we have, we were patient and it didn't all come at once. Again, knew how to garden already, knew how to can already, knew how to do all kinds of homesteading skills already. Moved to the homestead. Spent the first year doing nothing except clearing property that needed to be cleared, fixing fences that needed to be fixed, watching the water, watching the sun. Next year, chickens. Next year, pigs. And that's part of the reason that I feel we've been relatively successful is because we took our time and we get good at something before we move on to the next thing. Do I have everything figured out when it comes to chickens? No. Am I a master gardener? No. Am I some sort of a pig prophet? No. But I've gotten pretty good at each of these skills, and perhaps sometime during the 2022 calendar year, probably a little closer to summer, we might move into something new and something else. So why am I talking about this so much? Well, I'm talking about this a lot because homesteading is getting big, homesteading is getting popular, people are moving out of the cities, and I'm getting a lot of questions. And the biggest thing that is going to derail your homesteading venture, I'm telling you right now, is getting in way over your head and taking on way too many things at once and having an epic failure and then losing heart and deciding this life just isn't for you and moving back to the city. The recipe to success is slow, easy, get good at it, and then move on. If y'all have anything you'd like to add, drop it down in the comments section. If you want to shoot me a quick note, you can drop me an email at rockin8farm@gmail.com. But otherwise, y'all, till I see y'all again, be happy and live healthy.